a lot of med students and a lot of engineering students, a William & Mary student, a few other PennApps fellows, and some people from the college and nursing. So welcome, and Wharton. So welcome everybody. Hopefully you'll learn some interesting stuff today. Okay.
Don't trust the lights on the screens. Like the ones that are pointing on the screen.
Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Does that really bother you?
Yes.
Alright, so I'm Bryn Claypool. I'm a rising senior in Penn Engineering. I'm studying computational biology, and I've been the director of PennApps for the past year. This is PennApps. It's a student hackathon. So we have about 1,200 students from all across the nation and the world come to Penn for a weekend and build an app. This is kind of what people think hackers do, apparently. If you just search image search hacker on Google, this is what you get. Particularly this. Apparently people think that's what we look like. But actually, hackers look more like this. This is pictures from previous PennApps of people working together on things, stress, lots of food, people who need sleep. Yeah. So who here is actually has a good idea of PennApps, has been to it before, knows what it is? Show of hands. Cool. Okay. So hopefully today I can explain why hackathons are awesome, and you can figure it out by the end and come to PennApps in a few months. The next one is September 12th through 14th. And if you keep going with these tutorials, which we'll have every week, sans next week, after this we're going to be doing navigating files and source control and GitHub, so hosting basic websites on the internet. That's in 2 weeks. And there's a full schedule that I can post later. And it'll end with being able to build your own web app. So you should come if you want to learn that. All right. So the first thing I want to teach everybody is actually not HTML or CSS. It's how to troubleshoot when you run into a problem in your coding. You'd be surprised to learn that most coders actually have no idea what they're doing when they start a project. Kind of the point of coding is to say, I want to build this, and I have no idea how to do it, but I'm willing to learn. And spend a lot of time mostly on Google searching things and trying to figure out how to build the thing that you're trying to build. So this is a coder's best friend. This is called Stack Overflow. And people post questions with issues that they're having. And other people in the community answer quick ways to solve their problems. Another thing you can do is just a basic Google search. And doing a nice Google search is kind of a programmer's only advantage over a new programmer. If you're doing a Google search, make sure that you look up the name of the language you're trying to do and just a couple word summary of the main key topics of the thing you're attempting. So if you're working with HTML and CSS, and let's say you want to put something in a header, you would just search HTML header and tag, and you can figure out what the tag is. It's actually called header to make that in HTML. So if at any point you encounter a problem, do that first. Do a nice Google search, look on Stack Overflow, and then feel free to reach out to me or any of the other mentors. Can the mentors who are here raise their hands? Derek. Yeah, so these are mentors. This is Alex. He's a rising sophomore and a mechanical engineering major, but he's also a PennApps exec member. This is Derek. Derek, you're a comp sci major, and also a rising sophomore and a PennApps exec member. And up here we have 2 PennApps fellows. This is a program we spun off this summer to help kind of make people think of Philadelphia as a really cool tech community. So Albert's from Penn State and Derek is from Temple, and they're both here working for startups over the summer and writing code for them. All right, so let's see, we've kind of covered how to Google, Stack Overflow, and if you want to learn more things, Code Academy is a great place to pick up new skills. But the tutorials are kind of long, and if you don't really want to go through that, this is a much better way to get material. Also, BentoBox has links for pretty much anything you could ever want to learn. And Dash is particularly good for HTML and cool CSS things that you might want to learn. And I'll post these links later, but these are some cool places you can go. Okay, so let's start with how to actually use HTML and CSS. So if you just look at a web page, you'll see that it's actually the very basic part of it is written in HTML. So this is the homepage that I made for this tutorial. It's based on the stuff we're going to learn today. And I'm going to get in later I'll get into like how the internet works, but the main idea is you send a request out to the internet for a particular web page, and it'll send you back a package of code. And the main code that the website renders is the HTML. So I just did right-click inspect element. I think there's a similar thing you can do in Firefox to see the actual code of the website. And today we're going to go through like all of the main parts of an HTML document and explain what else goes into that. HTML is just the very basic bare bones of a website. There are 2 other things that are frequently integrated with HTML to make websites really cool and do awesome things. One is CSS, and CSS is the language that allows you to make a website pretty. We're going to use a tool today called Bootstrap that provides a lot of CSS code for you. So in your HTML, you pretty much just need to call a button function, and it already has a button written for you, but you can just use that button. And it's very pretty, and it makes writing code a lot easier. Another tool that's used a lot with HTML is JavaScript, and JavaScript runs all of the more complicated things that go on behind the scenes. So this file has a couple of JavaScript files, and I think what they do is if you hover, it'll kind of track the location of your mouse and see when you hover, and then it'll change the color based on what you're hovering over. Other things JavaScript can do: call databases, call other websites, and do a lot of the things that make websites really awesome. Okay. So I'm going to hand it over to Alex now, and he's going to talk you through a basic HTML document and how to build one yourself.
Okay. So, I'm Alex, a rising sophomore. I'm sure I went through all that. So this right here is called brackets. It's what we suggest writing HTML and CSS with. Brackets is a text editor, which means that it allows you to modify your code and also offers syntax highlighting. So as you notice, these are all different colors, and that makes it easier to read your code and edit it effectively. Brackets also have this nice feature called Live Preview, which allows you to see exactly what the website would look like at that moment. So, for example, this document here on the left is the HTML code for what this web page on the right is. So, yeah. So, getting into HTML, HTML always starts with this at the top. This is the document type declaration. it basically says that this is an HTML document, and it begins every like any HTML code you see just begins with this. Now below that, it starts with below it is the HTML tag. Basically, a tag goes around the text in the middle and gives meaning and content to what's in between, basically. So specifically here, you can see that what's highlighted is the open and close to a tag. So everything in between that is given specific meaning by that tag. So at the beginning, you have an open HTML tag, and below you have an open head tag, and at the bottom of that, you have a closed head tag. So basically what the head tag is telling us then is everything in between here is stuff on the page that you don't see. So looking at the first part, it says meta character set UTF-8. So that's basically telling you what kinds of font you can use in your web page. Going down is the title, and that's basically what you will see in the tab of your web page when it's when you can only see the top, so it's easy to recognize which one is your website or something else like Facebook. So basically the point of the head tag is to show or tell things about your document that aren't easily or shouldn't be seen by the person. Down here is the body tag, and what the body tag signifies is basically what the person sees when they see your page.
That's a good question.
Yes?
Is there a way to add comments to this? So to take that body tag?
Yeah, so right here is the comment syntax.
Okay.
So be less than exclamation part dash dash, and then you can write your comments and then close out with dashes and then greater than. So the body tag basically shows what the person will see on the website. So I guess it's a little confusing to say that there's a head tag and there's a header tag, but the header tag is normally signified by H and a number, and that will basically correspond to a heading in the web page. So for example, this H1 tag heading corresponds to this large text here on the web page. And going forward, you have like a header 2, which is a subheader, and that's slightly smaller and goes beneath the larger heading. And then even further down, you have paragraph, which allows you to write your text on a web page. So I guess that's basically like if you just want to write out like an essay on the web page, you could do headings and paragraphs and stuff. But then there's some other interesting things you can do, which are links and pictures. So a picture tag isn't the same as a normal tag because you don't have to open and close it. It is more so a syntax where you just give it a single piece of code that says image, and then you give it what it will display if it can't find the image. So just the text that will display if it can't find the image, and then the source of the image. So that's where it'll look for the image. So it can either be a file, a URL, or something along those lines. And then even further, you can actually do links, which are which is given by href. So it refers to that point that you give it when the part is clicked. So brackets.io on the web page would redirect to brackets.io in the code. So maybe you're thinking, why do these tags matter? And that kind of ties into CSS, where looking at the CSS for the page, or for this specific page, each specific tag is given its properties in the CSS file. So, for example, everything within the HTML tags, you're giving it now a background color up here, and you're giving it just background pieces. And then beneath the body, you have the margin for the text, the font for the text, and font size, color, etc. So I'll hand off to Bryn to go into more depth into CSS, which she's the CSS master.
I'm not going to get too deep into it right now. Alex has said a lot of the things that I want to say. The main thing that I want to teach you is how to look up things that you want to do with CSS. So let's say you see a tag like this, maybe in somebody else's code, and you think this might be something that you want to do, like you're looking at another web page, and you think, oh, I'd love to have a gradient in the background, but I don't know how to do that. You can just search a tag on Google. Again, start with the language. You can do the tag background image. So it'll bring up this thing called W3 Schools, and this is kind of the dictionary or encyclopedia, like the main resource for all HTML and CSS. It goes through all of the different tags and all of the different things you could create with HTML and CSS. Explains what browsers support them and kind of how they're used, and provides examples so you can see it for yourself and then play around with it. A couple other things to note about CSS. The colors are identified with a string of numbers and letters that probably looks kind of crazy. Or it's identified with something like this, an RGB value, which looks slightly less crazy. So the RGB is just how much red, green, and blue goes into that color. And you can play around with it. Again, you can search online and find color wheels and just pull out colors that you want to use, and it'll tell you the values for it. Personally, sometimes I'll just play around with it here until I get a color that I like, just with the different amounts of red, blue, and green. And weirdly enough, all of these values are actually very similar. This is just in a notation called hexadecimal. So it ranges from 0 to F. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then A, B, C, D, E, F. And you can, again, play around with it, type in random letters and numbers in that range, and see what the colors come out as. And it's also vaguely, red is the first two, blue and green. Okay, so that's the basics of CSS and HTML. As I mentioned before, we're going to be using Bootstrap. If you don't already have brackets in Bootstrap, you should download them right now. Just Google them and go to the websites and download. So Bootstrap provides a lot of these features for you, so you don't have to make them on your own. We're going to start off with the templates that they have and kind of build off of those to build our own websites. So these are the very basic frames that you can use. For my website, I just took this frame and used it as the home page, and Alex took this one and used it as the home page. If you want to do this yourself, you just go to you have to download Bootstrap first so you have everything you need to run it. And then you can right-click, inspect element, and it'll provide all of the HTML and the head and body text. So the great thing about this is you can actually save an HTML file on your own computer, pull it up in brackets, and edit it yourself. I totally don't want to do this because my computer's a mess. But So it'll save the HTML file, and then depending on the page, it'll usually save like the CSS or the JavaScript files associated with it in a separate folder. And you can access those on your computer, just save them somewhere you know, and then bring them up on brackets and play around with them. So that's kind of what we're going to do today to build your own personal website. If you want to right now, take a look through the templates and see which ones you like or which features you're going to want on your website, and start thinking about it while Derek comes up and explains some basic design principles to you.
Sure.
I'll take this with you.
Okay, so as Bryn mentioned, I'm Derek. I'm on the PennApps Logistics Planning Committee. I'm also a member of PennLabs. So how many of you guys have used PennCourseView before? So if you notice, we did a recent redesign, and I actually led that. So here's the resolution. You guys hear me? Yeah. Okay. Let's see if we can fix this. Oh, you can't see anything.
Mirror displays.
Okay, that's a little bit better. So this is the new PennCourseView, and some of the things we were trying to do with this redesign was really a lot of simplification. So if you remember the old one, it was a little bit more complicated, and when we sat down to redo it, we thought to ourselves, what were the things you're going to be doing with this website, and it's just to search as quickly as possible. So that's why the search bar is as large as possible. It's very clear. So we can type in something like CIS 110, and we've got lots of information in our results. We know that it's a course, and here's the detail page. Again, try and simplify things as much as possible. So that's kind of the design theory that I've worked on for a lot of my websites is just present as much information as you need, nothing more. Especially when you're trying to adapt these for mobile, because you might have a lot of space on a desktop machine. When it gets down to mobile size, it's really much smaller. And for example, PennCourseView kind of breaks. So we should probably work on that. If we look at the PennApps website, it's pretty similar in that it's also very simple. When you land, you have just information about PennApps, and it's something called a one-page scrolling site. So everything is on one page, and these are really popular right now. It's something I would really suggest if you're making your own personal website, because it's much simpler to work on, and you don't really need to put all that much information in for your personal website. One of the things that's kind of cool about this is that even though it's this really long website, you can click on links that will get you to one part of the website or the other. And that's actually a pretty simple thing to do, so I can show you how I did that on my website. On my website, I've got these things, these titles for projects, contact me, about me. And if we look at the code, I'm using Safari because it has a much better developer console. You can get that if you want. What we can see is, let's inspect one of these. When you click on one of these, here we go. So you can see we have all these anchor tags. Anchor tags are how you link to things. And when you link to, for example, something that starts with a hashtag and then projects, it's going to take you to the page, append this to it, and it's going to scroll down to that. So if you have this menu bar, you can put different links on it to different parts of your website. And you can use something called Smooth Scroll, which is a JavaScript plugin to smoothly scroll down. So for example, if I click on this, it does this really nifty scrolling about. And you can just go on my website and steal it. There it is right there. Anything else, Bryn? For example, my website's pretty horrible because this is a really small font. That should probably be fixed. A really great resource I'd like to point out to you guys is Google Fonts. When you're trying to find new web fonts, or when you want to specify a specific font for web, it's a little bit difficult. And Google's really awesome. They provide a huge library. It's really easy to implement Google Fonts into your website. They're all free. You have the license to use them, which is great because I'm pretty sure my website uses some things that Adobe would get mad at me for having online. And yeah, so this is a great website. I think Adobe has one similar, but they charge money. Cool. Well, let me know if you have any questions. I'm always willing to help with web design. Thank you.
Right. So now we're actually going to do the workshop part. I think the workshops are actually much more useful than having us just kind of point out tags and talk at you. So as I recommended before, go ahead and download brackets if you haven't already done so, and Bootstrap. Look at the Bootstrap templates, see if there are any that you like. You can just take the source code from it and save it on your computer, open it up with brackets, and play around with the tags. Kind of get an idea of what all the elements are, and the mentors will be floating around.
Brent,
Yes.
when you download Bootstrap, it's not, it's just at least what I have is just a folder. Is it supposed to be anything more than?
No.
Yeah, it's not now.
So as I might have mentioned, Alex and I did this yesterday to have a good template to show you. I literally just took the template, the cover template from Bootstrap, and then I played around with the CSS to kind of invert it and use it for all my other pages. You don't need a lot of information, just some basics about you. Alex and I can show you how to put in widgets to other websites, Twitter or YouTube. This is Alex's page. So if anything here looks really cool to you, we can show you how to put it in. Go ahead and think of some things you want to implement. We're happy to help. Try it out, and we'll be walking around. If you need power, it's all along the sides of this auditorium. And feel free to just raise your hand or call out to any of us at any point, and we'll help you. Any questions? Okay, all right, go ahead and get to work.
Just realized the last time I was in this, I'm crying and